Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly. We're back with another Western North Carolina fishing report with our friend Shannon Messer from Tuckaseegee Fly Shop. How you doing, Shannon?
I'm doing well, Marvin. Good evening, and hope everyone's having a great day wherever you are out there in this fantastic world.
Absolutely. You might need your rain jacket, though.
You might or you might not, depending on where you are. And the liquid sunshine is quite welcome right now. Surprisingly, we have been under a burn ban. We've got great groundwater levels, but with the low humidity and the wind, things were starting to dry out a bit, Marvin. So the rain we got today was much welcome. It did not rain all day. In fact, there were some folks in the shop, around lunchtime that fished, before the rain hit, and during the rain, it did really well today.
Well, that's really good. And I took a look at your weather. And I mean, you've got great temperatures. And, it's always hard for me to tell sitting here in Charlotte, you're going to have a fair amount of rain kind of smattered through the next 4 or 5 days. But I can't ever really tell if it's widespread or localized because you have so much localized rain as it starts to warm up in your neck of the woods.
That's a very valid point. And we get asked on a daily basis about that. And folks are real reluctant at times to plan a trip to the area, especially when it pertains to fishing because of the chances of rain that we have. Most folks need to understand that in the mountains of Western North Carolina, this is a very, very wet climate, one of the highest in the nation. That's one of the reasons why we're so green. It's one of the reasons why we have cool water, and it's one of the reasons why we have the opportunities we have to fish as it tends to warm up a little bit. So looking at, Tuesday, and of course this will probably not be up by then, but we're looking, at a pretty high chance of rain. Then it tends to drop down. I tell people, hey, we have a chance of rain here every day, and it's probably raining somewhere every day. And this is a time of the year that if you're out doing some stuff on the trail, backpack fishing somewhere, just pack you a light rain jacket just in case the rain shower pops up on you.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, too, is, once everything greens up, the ability of the streams to not get blown out as easily as they are in the winter and the fall is a lot greater because those roots just suck up all that extra moisture.
That's a great point. And I had read one day how much water a tree could suck up, and it was an astronomical amount of water per day. So when we go, that week or 10 days without rain, you really start to see those stream levels drop pretty drastically. And as we continue to creep towards summer and we get to those summer days, it really intensifies even greater. So having that rain at higher elevations does us a great solid. It helps us, number one, to keep the fire risk down, but also providing, cooler water for the fish and for them to be healthy.
Absolutely. And I guess, we'll say enough about the weather. Let's talk about the fishing. I imagine you've probably got great hatches still going on, and you probably got some fish that are pretty aggressive since things have warmed up chasing streamers too.
Man, Marvin, in my opinion, and I think we've had this conversation off the air, May, the first couple of weeks of June can be some of the best topwater activity of the year, in my opinion. Not that you can't catch fish topwater at any other times of the year, because you certainly can. But this is such an interesting time with such a wide variety of bugs to choose from. So, for example, we've got our Cahills are starting to come off. So we have Cahills coming off in the evening time. We have Yellow Sallies popping off now on a regular basis. You still have Hendricksons. You have some March Browns popping off as well. And you throw in midges. I was in the national park yesterday, and I have never seen so many midges in my life at this particular fishery that I have fished for many, many years, Marvin. I was blown away at how much bugs were prevalent. And not only am I seeing that, Dell's seeing that, Preston is seeing that, our customers are seeing that. So if you want to throw some dry flies, such as a caddis, a tan caddis or a yellow caddis, a olive caddis. You had your gentleman on from Clemson that talked about the Mother's Day caddis. He's spot on. The olive caddis in the evening time with the females, going to the water and dropping eggs, great choice to have. Yellow stimulators, parachute Adams, Charlie Whoppers. Got a lot of options when it comes to topwater activity. And you definitely can't forget about maybe starting to throw some Teleco nymphs underneath. Our hare's ear, Dale really raves about the hare's ear, but it's a great time for that. Your favorite stick bait imitation. So we have a buckskin caddis at the shop that does a great job of imitating that particular fly. And throw in your favorite stonefly imitation, which for a lot of folks is a girdle bug, black or black coffee with, those rubber legs. You're probably pretty set. And then terrestrials. My favorite, hard body ant, Japanese beetle, inchworms should start hanging here pretty soon. We are coming up on Mother's Day weekend. Those can be quite productive for you as well, Marvin.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always, particularly when I fish the South Holston, I don't ever fish it without a small black beetle.
More than anything else, terrestrials are overlooked in the fly bin. Chubby Chernobyls have come a long way, and I think opening the door for folks to think about throwing that. It's such a generalized pattern that could be a hopper, it could be a beetle. But if we really get down to it, we've got so many terrestrials out there living, ants, and the Japanese beetle here for sure is a real important one. They're just so productive, and you can sink them, you can fish them top water, and they just work. And from what I read from a study, the scientists said that terrestrials are a very, very high protein meal for the fish over a caddis or over a stonefly. So maybe they're keying in on that larger meal and having to not move as much, especially when the water warms up. So they're not, stressing themselves out to get that high protein meal that they need.
Yeah, I also think, to your point, I think a lot of fishermen don't fish them. And so, a lot of times I like to use them as a change up on highly pressured fish or really selective fish.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a good point. What's your favorite one to fish?
Yeah, I like a little small foam beetle with like a little bit of green foam on the back. Just because I can see it.
Yeah. The neat thing about that too, Marvin, if you take those real bigger ones that are that float really well, you can fish those in that faster water. And as those rainbows specifically really move closer to that faster water as the temperatures warm up, you're going to find an opportunistic rainbow where maybe a yellow palmer, which is a great fly, or a parachute atom or something, is not necessarily going to catch their attention. It does wonders. A big one of size, like a 10 can be intimidating to folks, but you'd be surprised with our finicky fish here what they will strike at times. Absolutely.
And how's your smallmouth bite?
And, the guys have got out and done some of that on their free time. So definitely it's time to start thinking about smallmouth. And if you want to get something like that on the books, start hitting us up for that. A lot of folks are still keyed in on this DH, which is going to run through the end of the month, or obviously the first Friday in June. But it's a great transition fish. I would challenge anyone out there who has never done a smallmouth on the fly rod. Give it an opportunity and give it an honest shot. Poppers, topwater action could be really fun, but subsurface patterns such as a Murtich minnow, some of those other things such as, it's a game changer certainly will work here. But the dungeons, mini dungeons, crawfish patterns, and it's just a great change up, Marvin. And I know we don't have like the biggest in the world, but they're here, and it's just another species to go chase. And why not? Why not go down the river and have someone row you down the river while you fish? And we'd love to help you with that if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a non-fishing fishing question, because it's very important to most fishermen. We got a listener question came in over Instagram. They wanted to know what kind of bourbon you guys put in your flask.
It's funny when you ask that question because, Dale's pretty fond of Buffalo Trace. Bobby, I think, is kind of fond of all of them. we recently got gifted a nice bottle of the Woodford Reserve Derby Edition here a little less than weekends ago. Excuse me. Steve and Carolyn Horton brought that to us, so it's this year's Derby edition of that. So we haven't popped the top on that, and I suspect we'll do that on the next podcast. But it's really eclectic. I've got several bottles here that go from Buffalo Trace, Woodford Reserve, Knob Creek, Four Roses, Eagle Rare. So it's kind of an eclectic mix, and I think in some cases it's what's free. And we've got some great listeners and customers that's been taken care of. And we thank you for that tremendously.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can accomplish in the fly fishing world with a bottle of bourbon or scotch.
Hey, you can get some really good information that way, Mark.
There you can. And you know what? It's probably cheaper than buying all the flies you need to get to the same place.
We still wanted to buy the flies, though.
Fair enough. Well, listen, before I let you hop, why don't you let folks know where to find the shop hours, and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, man. Hey, we're rocking and rolling 6 days a week, 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening. We're guiding 7 days a week. And with that being said, you can reach us at 828-488-3333. The World Wide Web at tuckflyshop.com. We're located at 3 Depot Street, Bryson City, North Carolina, and also 530 West Main Street, Sylvan, North Carolina.
Well, there you go. And, May is one of Shannon's favorite months. So, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Shannon.
Tight lines, Marvin.